Ever find yourself wondering who keeps the music going? Like, literally keeps the instruments themselves working right.
Working and in tune, yeah.
That's right. That's exactly what we're diving into today, the world of musical instrument technicians.
And you might be surprised how deep this goes.
Yeah.
It's not just tightening strings,
Mhm.
it's a whole profession with history and artistry, even a touch of detective work, you could say.
Really. I have to admit, going into this, I was picturing like tuning forks and maybe a piano or two tops.
Yeah, no, it's way more than that.
But our sources are painting a much more intricate picture. They mention everything from violins and tubas.
Yeah, yeah.
Get
Yeah.
this pipe organs.
Now, those are a different beast. Talk about a specialized skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are practically architecture. It takes a whole other level of mechanical know-how on top of the musical part.
Okay, so we're already seeing this isn't your average like fix-it job, but what's it actually like day to day being a musical instrument technician?
Well, picture this one day, you're crammed in a workshop, the smell, that wood polish, the metal,
Oh, yeah.
and you're trying to get the action just right on a vintage Steinway, right? Next day, you're backstage at a concert hall. The clock is ticking.
Oh, pressure's on.
Got to fix a cracked clarinet reed before the curtain goes up.
Talk about a difference. That is a leap from quietly puttering in a shop. Our sources even mentioned house calls. Could be in someone's living room handling an heirloom instrument.
Totally. It's a job with crazy variety, not just the instruments themselves, but the people, the places.
But it can't all be glamorous concert halls and antique violins, right? What about the not-so-fun side?
Well, let's just say it's not always music and roses, right? Some days you're hunched over a workbench for hours,
Yeah, I bet.
maybe meticulously replacing frets on a guitar
Mhm.
or dealing with valve oil, which gets everywhere.
And I'm guessing some interesting smells come with the territory, especially with those older instruments, or certain glues and finishes.
You said it. Very hands-on job. And that means, sometimes messy, physically demanding. You're on your feet a lot. Instruments can be heavy. And you end up in some awkward positions sometimes just to get to what you need to fix.
So strength and stamina are part of the job description then. It's not just about a delicate touch, but also being able to wrangle these often complex mechanisms.
Absolutely. And speaking of complex, we can't forget about how technology plays into all this.
Oh, right. It's 2024. Even instrument repair must have gone at least a little digital, I'd imagine.
It has. The core skills are the same, but nowadays technicians use digital tuners, specialized software,
Wow,
analyzing sound, even 3D printing for custom parts.
3D printing. Wow, you could have a technician who's as good with CAD software as they are with a soldering iron. That's wild.
Makes you wonder, with all these different elements to the job, what actually makes someone good at this? Like, what are the key ingredients to being a successful musical instrument technician? That's a great question, and one our deep dive really gets into. While a love for music itself seems like a given, it goes deeper than just passion, though obviously that's important. Our sources talk a lot about meticulous attention to detail. We're talking fractions of millimeters here, like the bridge of a violin. Tiny adjustments, huge impact on the sound.
It's like surgery. I bet patience is key too. Not every fix is a quick one.
Oh, absolutely. Some repairs, you're looking at days, weeks even, of super intricate work. And problem solving, that's a must-have. Say, a vintage sax isn't quite hitting the right notes. That's where your inner detective comes out.
So a love for musical history can't hurt either, especially if you're working on those older instruments. It's like you're piecing together a puzzle, figuring out how they were made back in the day.
More than that, you're preserving a piece of history. Each instrument has its own story, its own voice. Some technicians even research the specific instruments they're working on, the materials, the techniques used to make them originally.
That's dedication. But I get it. The more you know, the better you can restore it to its full glory. Speaking of which, let's talk about the career path itself. How do you go from like wannabe technician to seasoned pro?
Think of it like musical scales. Each note is a stage in your development. A lot of times you're starting as an apprentice, maybe cleaning instruments, watching, learning the ropes from someone who's been doing it forever.
They'll wax on, wax off. But for instruments, gotta be humbling. But I can see how those early days would be crucial.
Oh yeah, that's where you build the foundation. Developing those hand skills, learning to identify different woods, metals, understanding how to use the tools properly.
And then the exciting part, you graduate from apprentice to actually doing repairs yourself.
Right, so you might start with basic maintenance, like restringing, simple tuning, cleaning. Then, as you get better, more complicated repairs, maybe some restoration work under the guidance of your mentor still.
Like leveling up in a video game. Earn experience, unlock skills, till you can take on those boss-level repairs.
Exactly. And just like with a video game, each level has its own challenges and its own rewards.
And speaking of rewards, let's talk about that for a second. We've covered the demands, the details, but what about those less tangible rewards that come with this kind of work?
Imagine taking an instrument that's seen better days, maybe neglected for years, silent, and you bring it back to life.
Oh man, that must be such a great feeling. Knowing you've made music possible again, seeing a musician's face when they play it after you've fixed it.
It is. It really is. It's not just fixing what's broken. It's connecting with the instrument itself, understanding its voice and helping it sing again.
That's a great way to put it. It's more than just the technical stuff, there's a real connection there. And I imagine that only gets stronger as you progress in your career.
Without a doubt.
Hmm.
The more instruments you work on, the more you understand the little things about them, the quirks, the imperfections. You realize each one's like a work of art, totally unique.
And speaking of art, we touched on technology changing things for musical instrument technicians. But I'm curious, how do those two worlds, the traditional craftsmanship and the modern technician, how do they actually work together in real life?
It's a cool mix, old and new. You might have a technician using a 300-year-old technique to repair a crack in a violin, and then they'll pull out their smartphone to check a database of tone wood densities to find the perfect piece for the repair.
That's such a good example. Honoring the tradition, but embracing the innovation too. Not one replacing the other, they work together.
Exactly. It's about using the best tools you have, whether they're ancient or cutting edge, to get the best possible result for the instrument.
Makes me wonder though, with all this talk about vintage instruments, preserving the craft, is there room for new stuff in this field? Or are they mostly focused on keeping things the same when it comes to how instruments are made, designed?
That's where it gets really interesting. See, while respecting tradition is huge, a lot of technicians, they also have this inventive streak. They're not afraid to try new things, push the boundaries.
So they're not just technicians, they're inventors too.
Exactly. They might work with musicians to create a totally custom instrument, perfect for their playing style, or experiment with new materials, new techniques to get a better sound or make it play easier.
Wow, so you could have a technician who's as comfortable designing a brand new guitar pickup as they are, like restringing a classical guitar.
Absolutely. It's that mix of old and new that keeps things interesting, keeps the field moving forward.
It's like they're guardians of musical history, making sure those instruments from the past still have a voice, but they're also shaping the sounds of the future too.
Well said. And, this has all been fascinating, talking about the technical side, the artistic side.
Yeah.
But we got to talk practicality, too. How does someone actually get started in this field?
Yeah, I'm sure there are people listening right now thinking, this sounds amazing, but where do I even begin?
Fair question.
Yeah.
While there are the more formal routes, like degrees in instrument repair or musical technology, a lot of successful technicians, they found their way in a little differently.
Like through apprenticeships.
Exactly. Finding a mentor, someone who's willing to share what they know, that's priceless.
It's like finding your Yoda of instrument repair. But finding a mentor, that's just the beginning, right? What else does it take to really thrive in this line of work?
Well, we talked about those key qualities. Patience, attention to detail, that knack for problem solving, those are huge. But beyond that, it's about being truly curious, always wanting to learn more, never being satisfied.
Because it never really stops, does it? The learning, instruments change, technology changes. There's always something new to discover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's part of what makes it so rewarding. It's a lifelong journey. You're always exploring that space where art, science, and craftsmanship come together.
It's more than a job then, it's a calling.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired. This deep dive has been incredible. We went from thinking about tuning pegs to this whole hidden world of skill, artistry, real human connection.
It's been quite a journey, for sure.
It really has. And to our listeners, we hope this has given you a new appreciation for those unsung heroes behind the music we love, the musical instrument technicians who keep the melodies alive.
Couldn't agree more.
And until next time, keep those instruments tuned, keep those melodies humming, and remember, there's always something more to discover, even in the most familiar sounds. It's almost like each instrument has its own personality, right? And it takes a special kind of person to not only get that, but to know how to work with it.
Yeah, it's about really understanding what makes each instrument tick. Not just fixing it when it's broken, but kind of anticipating what it needs, Sometimes even before the musician themselves realizes it.
That's amazing. Do you think there's an actual connection that forms between a technician and the instruments they work on?
I think
Yep.
so, definitely. Our sources touched on that a bit, but when you think about it, these technicians spend so much time hands-on with these instruments, feeling how they vibrate, listening so closely to every little sound. They know those instruments inside and out. Every flaw, every little quirk, every imperfection.
It's like a relationship then built on trust and understanding and this shared love for the music.
Exactly. And like any relationship, it takes patience. You got to be willing to listen, to work with it.
That's a nice way to put it. It's like that saying, walk a mile in someone else's shoes. But here, it's more like, feel the vibrations with your own hands.
I like that. It really captures the empathy, the intuition that these technicians develop. They're not just fixing something, they're connecting with it on a deeper level. It's about the history, the potential, everything that makes that instrument what it is.
Makes you appreciate the art of it all, you know? It's so much more than just being good with your hands. It's a whole way of thinking, a calling almost.
It is. It's about making sure those melodies, those harmonies, they keep going.
What a great way to put it. We've gone from tuning pegs to this whole world of craftsmanship, this amazing connection between humans and instruments.
It's been quite the deep dive.
It really has. And to everyone listening, we hope this has given you a new appreciation for the folks working behind the scenes, those musical instrument technicians who keep the music playing.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So until next time, keep those instruments tuned, keep those melodies alive, and remember, there's always more to discover, even in the most familiar sounds.